Imagine a civilization that mastered the stars, built pyramids to rival those of Egypt, and developed a complex written language, all while deep in the jungles of Central America. This was a world of sprawling cities, home to hundreds of thousands of people and ruled by god-kings who carved their history into stone. For over 1,000 years, the Maya were a powerhouse of human brilliance. Then, almost in the blink of a historical eye, everything went quiet. The great cities in the southern heartland, places like Tikal, Copán, and Calakmul, were abandoned. The stone carvers put down their tools. Scribes stopped recording the histories of their kings. Within just a few generations, the jungle began to reclaim what it had lost, swallowing palaces and temples, leaving behind ghost cities shrouded in mystery. What could make one of the ancient world's most advanced civilizations abandon its magnificent cities and seemingly vanish? For centuries, this question has obsessed explorers and archaeologists. Was it a single, catastrophic event? Or was it something much more complex, a slow-burning fuse that finally led to an implosion? In this video, we'll investigate the clues left behind in stone and bone. We'll look at evidence of crippling drought, brutal warfare, and signs of a society tearing itself apart to unravel the mystery of the Maya collapse. But this isn't just a story of ruin. It's a story of survival, of a people who never really left, and a cautionary tale that echoes into our world today. Before we head into the jungle to begin our investigation, if you're fascinated by history's great mysteries, take a moment to subscribe and join our community of explorers. Your support helps us dig deeper into these incredible stories. Now, let's begin. To understand the collapse, you first have to appreciate the staggering heights from which the Maya fell. This wasn't some primitive society. This was a civilization that was, in many ways, centuries ahead of its time. The seeds of the Maya were planted around 2000 BCE with early farming villages. Over the next 1,000 years, they flourished across a huge territory that now covers southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras. We often hear the term Mayan Empire, but it's better to think of them as a collection of powerful, independent city-states, a lot like ancient Greece. These cities were tied together by a shared culture and religion, but they were also fierce rivals, each ruled by its own dynasty. The classic period, from around 250 to 900 CE, was their golden age. During this time, cities like Tikal and Guatemala became sprawling metropolises with populations that may have hit 50,000 or more. Imagine standing in Tikal's Great Plaza, dwarfed by the Temple of the Great Jaguar, its limestone face once painted in vibrant colors, reaching for the sky. These weren't just buildings, they were cosmic mountains, designed to connect the earthly realm to the heavens. The Maya were master astronomers. From observatories like the one at Chichén Itzá, they tracked the movements of the sun, moon, Venus, and the stars with breathtaking accuracy. This wasn't just for curiosity. It governed their farming cycles, their religious ceremonies, and even their decisions to go to war. Their observations were so precise that they developed multiple calendars, including the famous 365-day calendar and the complex long count, which could track vast spans of time. And while Europe was in the Dark Ages, the Maya were one of the few ancient civilizations to develop a true written language. Their hieroglyphic script was a sophisticated mix of phonetic sounds and symbols representing whole words. They recorded their history and the lineage of their kings on stone monuments called stelae, on pottery, and in books made from fig tree bark. Perhaps their most stunning intellectual achievement was the independent invention of the concept of zero around 36 BCE. It was a mathematical breakthrough they achieved on their own, an honor shared by only a few other cultures in history, like the Babylonians and Indians. This innovation was the bedrock of their scientific and architectural skill. Their society was strictly hierarchical. At the top was the Kuhulaja, or Holy Lord, the king, who was seen as the bridge between the gods and his people. Below him were priests, scribes, and nobles. The backbone of it all was the huge population of farmers, who engineered the landscape with terraces and irrigation canals to feed the crowded cities. Their diet, based on maize, beans, and squash, was so successful that it supported a massive population. Some recent studies, using laser scanning technology, suggest the total Maya population could have been as high as 16 million people at its peak. This was the world of the classic Maya, a vibrant, complex, and brilliant civilization that seemed to have mastered its environment. And it's the stark contrast between this glorious peak and the silence that followed that makes the central mystery so profound. What went so terribly wrong? The story of the collapse doesn't start with a bang, but with a creeping silence that spread across the southern Maya lowlands. Between the 8th and 9th centuries, the pulse of this great civilization began to fade. The archaeological record tells a chilling story. It starts with the stones. For centuries, Maya rulers had proclaimed their power by carving massive stone monuments, or stelae. But after about 830 CE in the central Maya area, the carving just stops. In city after city, the last dated monument is put up, and then nothing. The official history of the southern cities simply ends. At the same time, the massive construction projects that had defined these cities ground to a halt. Grand temples and palaces were left unfinished. It's like the architects, the engineers, the laborers just dropped their tools and walked away. Imagine a society so obsessed with building and recording its history, suddenly losing the will or the ability to do either. Archaeologists excavating these cities see signs of rapid depopulation. Palaces where royal families once lived were left to decay. The great man-made reservoirs that supplied water to tens of thousands fell into disrepair. Slowly but surely, the people started to leave, emptying these once teeming urban centers over several generations. Some areas of the southern lowlands saw their populations drop by over 90%. For more than 1,000 years, the jungle swallowed these cities, hiding them until they were rediscovered in the 19th century. When early explorers stumbled upon the ruins of Tikal and Copán, they found an unbelievable sight. Magnificent cities, but totally empty. They found the art and the architecture, but the artists were gone. It was this haunting emptiness that gave birth to the legend of the vanished Maya. This abandonment wasn't the same everywhere. While the great cities of the southern lowlands were collapsing, many cities in the northern Yucatan Peninsula, like Chichen Itza and Uxmal, actually entered a new period of prosperity. This regional difference is a huge clue. It tells us that what happened wasn't a single event that wiped out all Maya people, but a crisis that was especially devastating to the southern kingdoms. So, the problem is clear. A powerful and sophisticated civilization, at the height of its power, suffers a catastrophic decline in its southern heartland. The people abandon their homes, their temples, their history. The question that has obsessed researchers for over a century is, why? Was it a force of nature? Or did the Maya, in their relentless pursuit of glory, sow the seeds of their own destruction? The first and maybe the most compelling suspect in the Maya collapse is climate change. For decades, scientists have been piecing together a history of the region's climate, and the picture that's emerged is one of catastrophic, decades-long droughts that hit the civilization at its most vulnerable moment. How do we know what the weather was like over 1,000 years ago? The answers are hidden in strange places, like deep inside caves. Stalagmites, those rocky spires that grow up from the cave floor, are built up layer by layer from dripping, mineral-rich water. Each layer traps chemical clues about the rainfall from that year. By analyzing these layers, scientists can create a year-by-year record of precipitation. Stalagmite analysis from the region revealed a startling discovery. The data show that between approximately 800 and 1000 CE, the exact window of the classic Maya collapse, the region was hit by a series of severe and prolonged megadroughts. Analysis of sediment cores from EPM and analysis lakes confirms this, showing that during the worst periods, annual rainfall may have decreased by up to 70%. For a civilization that depended completely on rain for its agriculture and drinking water, this would have been an apocalypse. The Maya were brilliant water engineers. In cities like Tikal, they built vast, paved plazas and canals to capture rainwater and funnel it into massive reservoirs. The power of the Maya kings was tied directly to their ability to provide this water. But these systems were designed for predictable, seasonal dry spells, not droughts that lasted for decades. As the rains failed, year after year, the reservoirs would have shrunk. Crop failures would lead to widespread famine and malnutrition. The very foundation of their society was crumbling. This problem was made worse by another one: deforestation. To build their monumental cities, the Maya needed enormous quantities of lime plaster, which required burning huge amounts of green wood to heat limestone. To feed their growing populations, they also cleared massive tracts of jungle for agriculture. This widespread deforestation had a devastating effect on the local climate. Trees release moisture into the atmosphere, which helps create clouds and rain. As the Maya cut down the forests, they were likely making the droughts worse. The kings, whose divine authority was linked to their ability to ensure a good harvest, would have been seen as failing. People would lose faith in rulers who could no longer make it rain. The drought wasn't just an agricultural crisis, it was a political and spiritual crisis that struck at the very heart of Maya society. However, the picture is complex. While severe droughts clearly hit the southern lowlands during their collapse in the 8th and 9th centuries, recent studies of stalagmites from the Yucatan Peninsula show that other intense droughts occurred later, around the 10th and 11th centuries, contributing to the eventual decline of northern cities like Chichen Itza. Furthermore, research suggests some southern areas collapsed even without experiencing the most intense dry spells. This tells us that while drought was a massive driver, it wasn't the whole story. Other forces were at play, turning a climate crisis into a total catastrophe. For a long time, we had this picture of the Maya as a peaceful, scholarly people, more interested in stargazing than in conquest. That illusion has been completely shattered. The archaeological record is now clear. The classic Maya world was filled with conflict, and as the civilization unraveled, this warfare escalated to a terrifying new level. Warfare had always been a part of Maya politics, but it was often a ritualized affair. The goal wasn't to wipe out an enemy, but to capture kings and nobles for public sacrifice. But in the late Classic period, something changed. The nature of war became far more brutal. The goal shifted from capturing kings to destroying entire cities. Archaeologists now call this total warfare. A chilling example comes from the city of Huitzna in Guatemala. An inscription at a rival city boasts of burning Huitzna in the year 697 CE. When researchers analyzed sediment from a nearby lake, they found a thick layer of charcoal dating to that exact time. Excavations confirmed it. The city's major buildings had been intentionally burned to the ground. This wasn't ritual, this was annihilation. This pattern of total destruction is seen at other sites too. As the crisis deepened, cities began to build defensive walls, something mostly absent during the peak of the Classic period. At sites like Aguateca, fortifications were thrown up hastily, as if in a last-ditch effort to fend off an attack. The city was eventually overrun and burned, with skeletons left unburied and valuables abandoned mid-flight. Why did the warfare become so intense? The leading theory ties it directly back to the droughts. As famine took hold, resources like water and good farmland became dangerously scarce. Competition exploded into violent conflict. Wars were no longer about prestige. They were about survival. Kings, unable to provide for their people, may have turned to conquest as a last resort to seize food from their neighbors. This created a deadly feedback loop. Constant war disrupted trade routes, blocking the movement of essential goods. Farmers would have been afraid to work their fields, causing even more land to be abandoned. And all the resources that could have been used to fight the drought were instead poured into wars that only made everything worse. The number of texts referring to warfare spikes dramatically in the 9th century, with kings desperately trying to project strength as their world fell apart. This constant warfare didn't cause the collapse on its own, but it was a critical accelerant. It shattered political alliances, destroyed economies, and turned the Maya world into a landscape of fear. It transformed a climate crisis into a human crisis, pitting city against city in a brutal fight for survival that left everyone weaker. A civilization is more than its climate or its armies. It's a web of social and political bonds. For the classic Maya, this intricate system became a critical vulnerability. As outside pressures mounted, the very structure of their society began to break from within. One major factor was overpopulation. At its peak in the 8th century, the Maya civilization was incredibly dense. This growth was a testament to their farming success, but it put immense strain on the environment. Even with their advanced agricultural techniques, there was a limit to how many people the land could support. When the megadroughts hit, there was no safety net. The system was already stretched to its breaking point, and food shortages were inevitable. Dense, malnourished populations also created the perfect breeding ground for disease. Experts believe that rampant infections would have contributed to the rapid depopulation seen in the archaeological record. At the same time, the political structure was falling apart. The divine authority of the king was based on a simple deal. He maintained cosmic order, and the gods provided rain and prosperity. When the rains failed and the wars brought only destruction, that deal was broken. The people lost faith in their rulers. This led to a breakdown in governance. The complex administration needed to run the cities, from managing reservoirs to organizing trade, began to fail. Peasants and artisans, who once flocked to the cities for security, likely just voted with their feet. Why stay in a starving, disease-ridden city ruled by a powerless king when you could try your luck elsewhere? People began to abandon the cities in droves. A recent model even suggests it wasn't just a flight from disaster, but also a move towards something better. As the cities declined, life in the countryside, away from the chaos and centralized control of the kings, may have looked more appealing. People may have left in search of more freedom and autonomy. Finally, the collapse of trade networks played a critical role. For centuries, the Maya cities had been linked by routes that moved goods like salt, obsidian, and jade. The escalating warfare of the Terminal Classic period shattered them. The inability to get essential goods would have crippled the urban economies and made life in the cities even harder. Some have even theorized that trade shifted from overland routes to sea-based transit around the peninsula, leaving the southern inland cities economically stranded. This internal breakdown, a toxic mix of overpopulation, disease, political failure, and economic collapse, created a society that was fundamentally fragile. It was a system rotting from the inside out, ready to crumble. As we've sifted through the evidence, it's become clear there's no single smoking gun for the Maya collapse. The truth, supported by most modern scholars, is that the classic Maya were consumed by a perfect storm of interconnected disasters. Imagine life in a Maya city around the year 850 CE. For generations, the climate has been getting drier. A megadrought, the likes of which no one has ever seen, has taken hold. The city's massive reservoirs are shrinking. The maize fields, which feed a population already stretched to its limit, are failing. Hunger is a constant presence. The king performs ever more desperate rituals, but the gods are silent. The people's faith in him and the entire system is crumbling. In a desperate move, he launches attacks on his neighbors, hoping to seize their food and water. But his neighbors are doing the exact same thing. The region descends into a state of constant, brutal war. For the average Maya farmer, life has become a nightmare. They face starvation from drought, death from war, and disease in the overcrowded cities, all while being ruled by an elite class that can no longer protect them. So, they begin to leave. Family by family, they melt back into the countryside, seeking out remote areas where they might survive, far from the collapsing cities. This is the perfect storm. Each disaster fueled the others in a catastrophic feedback loop. Drought led to famine. Famine led to war. War destroyed agriculture and trade, worsening the famine. The failure of the kings led to political collapse, and all of it together drove the mass depopulation that left the cities as empty shells. The civilization had become a system so tightly interwoven that when one part failed, it triggered a cascade of failures everywhere else. It had lost its ability to adapt. This also helps explain why the northern cities survived for a while longer. They had different water sources and more resilient political systems. The collapse was not the end of the Maya, but a dramatic shift away from the southern lowlands. The story of the Maya is a powerful reminder of how fragile civilizations can be, and how connected the threads of climate, conflict, and society really are. It's a story with profound lessons for our own time. If you found this investigation insightful, please share it with others. And if you haven't already, press the subscribe button and the bell icon to join us on our next journey into the past. The image of abandoned cities swallowed by jungle vines is so powerful, it's easy to think the Maya simply vanished. But that's the biggest myth of all. The classic Maya political system in the southern lowlands collapsed. The people did not. While the great urban centers fell to ruin, many Maya people migrated, either into smaller rural communities or north to the cities that were still thriving. The post-classic period saw the rise of new powers like Chichen Itza and Mayapan in the Yucatan. Independent Maya states continued to exist for centuries. In fact, the very last independent Maya kingdom, Nochpeten, held out against the Spanish until 1697, a moment in history closer to the American Revolution than to the fall of Tikal. Today, the legacy of the Maya is not found only in ruins. It is alive and vibrant. More than 7 million Maya people live today in their ancestral homelands and around the world. They speak more than 24 distinct Mayan languages, a direct link to the scribes of 1,000 years ago. They continue traditional farming practices and carry on the intricate patterns of their textiles, their spiritual beliefs, and their deep connection to the land. The mystery of the Maya collapse isn't a story of a lost people, but one of resilience and transformation. It reveals how a complex society buckled under the weight of climate change, warfare, and its own internal weaknesses. But it's also the story of a people who survived that collapse, endured centuries of colonization, and continue to carry the flame of their remarkable culture into the 21st century. The stones of the great cities may be silent, but the voice of the Maya people was never truly lost.